Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being patient, being here on time. We have to wait to the appointed hour and the clock just struck 4 p.m. Don't pay attention. Well, that one is on time too. But welcome to the Placer County LAFCO Commission meeting of December 11th. It is 4 p.m. and we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with a flag salute. Commissioner Rohan, would you lead us today? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now Amy will call the roll. We do have some online participants as well, so.
Commissioner Alpine, Commissioner Burris, absent. Commissioner Eklund, Commissioner Landon,
Here.
Commissioner Rohan, alternate Commissioner Bass, absent. Alternate Commissioner Friedman,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Holmes, absent. Alternate Commissioner Spriggs, absent. Alternate Commissioner Youngblood, here. And Chair Gustafson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And Judy, I think your mic might be a little weak. Try again, just so we can hear you if you have comments.
I will speak up.
Okay, thank you. We have a full house here today, so want to make sure we can hear your comments. Do we have any changes on the agenda?
Hello, Chair. No changes from staff.
Okay. Any commissioners have any changes? I'd accept a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll then move to public comments. This is an opportunity for anyone to speak to the commission on an item not on today's agenda. You have 3 minutes and can come forward. We cannot address your issue today on public forum, but we can take your comments. So does anyone have any comments on commission business that isn't on today's agenda? Okay, none here in the room. Is there anyone online? Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Okay, no public comment on that, on general items, so we'll move to consent calendar. We have 4 items on consent today. We have minutes from our November 6th meeting, financial reports September and October 2024, LAFCO project number 2024-07 for an out-of-area service agreement with South Placer Municipal Utility District, and then an approval of revised agreement to pay fees and costs indemnification. Are there any items that a commissioner would like to remove?
No.
Online, Judy, or?
No.
Okay,
I would like to make a comment on one of the items
okay.
afterwards, but
Well, why don't we pull it? Which item?
no, it's just a comment on 5C.
Okay,
Was within the sphere of influences, and even though extending services, it's a good maybe it's a good way to in the future approach the county coming with some master tax sharing agreements in sphere of influence areas. So when there's applications to come into into an area or an expanding district, it's already done. The tax sharing agreement portions could be a little bit faster. It was just an idea
for future.
Just in general, if we could, when we look at sphere of influences and maybe in working with the county and having some kind of master tax share agreements in those areas. Just
Okay.
the idea.
Thank you. Thanks for the comments. Are there any public comments on our consent calendar items? I'm not seeing any in the room. Is there anyone online? Please raise your hand if you'd like to comment on a consent calendar item. I'm not seeing any. So would I have a motion on the consent calendar?
I'll move approval. Second.
Motion and a second, and this will be a roll call vote.
Alpine,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Landon,
Yes.
Rohan, Friedman,
Yes.
and Youngblood,
Yes.
and Gustafson.
Yes. Thank you very much. And thanks for the comment. We'll talk about work priorities for next year on master agreements. We'll move on to item 6 on our agenda. This is public hearing items, and the first one is LAFCO project number 2024-05, South Placer Fire Protection District, extension of power to provide ambulance services within part of the boundaries. CEQA lead agency is LAFCO, and it's exempt under our CEQA guidelines governing us. So I'll turn it over. Michelle, are you presenting this item?
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Chair. I wanted to go over what topics I'm going to be covering today. I will give a little bit of a LAFCO 101 presentation. So those of you who have been on the commission for some time, you've seen the slides before because they're part of our normal LAFCO 101. But we do have 2 new members as well as members of the audience who may not have received a LAFCO 101 presentation. So I thought I would include that. So I'll go over the definitions that we're looking at in CKH, which is the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, which is the LAFCO law, if you will. And then going over some of LAFCO's powers, the application requirements that the district had to comply with in order to submit an application and for you to consider, as well as the protest hearing. And we do have a question about the protest hearing, so I'll go into that a little bit, as well as finally the staff recommendation. So you've received this map before as part of our July meeting when the district presented the master plan and the consultant made a presentation to your board in July. The area in yellow gold is Division 1, and then it's coming up blue, but I think printed it's a green color. And that's the Granite Bay Division 2. So you can see that the town of Loomis, which is an incorporated city, is substantially in the gold area, or what's the Division 1. And it does go, the Division 1 does extend beyond the town limits. So it is in the unincorporated portions of Placer County. So the area that we're discussing today, the subject of the district's proposal, is the gold area, the gold yellow area, Division 1. So a little bit of background. As I mentioned, you've seen these slides because they're from the LAFCO 101 presentation. But a little bit on definitions, starting with the first one. Well, what is a change of organization? A lot of these are typical LAFCO actions. We do city annexations, city detachments, right? City incorporations, district dissolutions, district detachments, district annexations. Those are the typical LAFCO, what you see in a typical LAFCO agenda. What's also within this definition and what you're seeing today, one that is a little bit not as frequent, that doesn't show up as frequently on your agenda, is the 56024M, the exercise of new or different functions or classes of services, or the divestiture of the power to provide particular functions or classes of services within all or part of the jurisdictional boundaries of a special district. So digging into that a little bit more, because that's a lot of words. The act also includes certain definitions in some of what I just read to you. Latent service power, which means those services, facilities, functions, or powers authorized by the Municipal Act under which the district is formed, but are not being exercised as determined by the commission. So what does service mean? We talk a lot about services for cities and special district. Well, under CKH, it means a specific governmental activity established within and as a part of a function of a local agency. Function means any power granted by law to a local agency to provide designated governmental or proprietary services or facilities for the use, benefit, or protection of persons or properties. Finally, Municipal Act means that in the case of a district, the law under which the district was formed, and in the case of a city, the general law or the city charter. We see a lot about those discussions during our service reviews, studies, our sphere of influence, but I just wanted to include them here again to bring us all together so we're all on the same page. So going into what the commission's powers and duties are, and I'm just going to list the very first one. The commission shall have all the following powers and duties subject to any limitations upon its jurisdiction set forth in this part. And the very first one is to review and approve with or without amendment, wholly, partially, or conditionally, or disapprove proposals for changes of organizations, again, that one that I read earlier, new or different services and functions, or reorganization, which is just 2 or more actions consistent with written policies, procedures, and guidelines adopted by the commission. So delving into the application requirements that LAFCO must comply, as well as the district. First, the district submitted a resolution that they adopted at a public hearing or at their board meeting, which is the resolution that's included in your packet, resolution number 05-2024. /25 adopted by the district on September 11, 2024. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the items or a couple of the bullets in the resolution. I'll go over the district's plan for providing services. Again, this is a requirement in statute, and that is included in your packet that the district provided. Finally, there are LAFCO determinations that we must make and CEQA findings. So the resolution, I just wanted to highlight one of the whereases and also one of the I believe the orders of the district, if you will. But the whereas the district board has determined that fiscal and service requirements justify the changes to the district's service plan throughout the expanded territory of the consolidated district as documented in the district's master plan adopted in June 2024. And the district's presentation to your commission, July 10th, 2024, that I had mentioned. Then the district further authorized the president of the district board and the district chief to submit the resolution that's before you and the documents as Placer County LAFCO may reasonably request to accomplish the changes to the district plan. So one of the documents that the district submitted, but certainly is not required under statute, but again, they provided a presentation on, and it is included not just in today's packet, but in the July 10th, 2024 commission packet. Just very quickly, since you did receive a comprehensive presentation on it, so I wanted to summarize that the benefits that the consultant found, that the independent consultant found of consolidating ambulance service for the district is faster response time, enhanced coordination, standardized training, cost efficiency. Many of these benefits of consolidating we see over and over in our service review, so certainly not anything unique there. And then the anticipated community impacts, which is increased reliability and improved patient outcomes, greater community involvement, transparency, et cetera. Again, those are not new, but that is what was found by a third-party independent consultant from the district's master plan. So going into the plan for providing services, this is a requirement in several sections of LAFCO law. I put a couple of sections in there. You last week, you had received one from another project. This is a requirement for all LAFCO projects. The difference with this type of proposal is there's some other determinations that the commission will be required to make, which I'll go over. But just very quickly summarizing the plan for services, again, it's included in your packet. The district would assign one of its existing ambulances to cover Division 1. and that the industry best practices suggest that onboarding of additional resources or a new ambulance, when the ambulance unit hour utilization, the UHU raises to 30 to 50%. Currently, the average for the districts is 8.8%. So, which indicates that the district has capacity for additional services while still being within that industry best practice. So just a little bit more of the plan for providing services. Again, the district expects that limited to no additional personnel costs per year above the 547, which is what they anticipate it costs for each ambulance, that the district already incurs, and they do not anticipate an initial capital outlay for the expanded service, again, because they will rely on an existing ambulance. So they do anticipate a nominal increase in consumable spending. These things it's listed on the third bullet or third list, which is fuel consumption, maintenance, mileage, things of that nature. However, the district use of the ambulance will provide net positive revenue generation for the district. So the plan for providing services states that with its existing resources, the district has adequate capacity to address an increase in demand should the district provide services to Division 1. So as I mentioned earlier, you are required to make certain determinations. These are found in the proposed resolution included in your packet, which we'll go over again. But just a couple of the determinations. The evidence in the record establishes that South Placer Fire Protection District has adequate capacity to provide ambulance services within Division 1 with the district's existing ambulance and staff at minimal to no additional cost to the district. And then as required by Government Code Section 56824.14A, the commission determines that South Placer Fire Protection District will have sufficient revenues to carry out the provision of ambulance services within Division 1. You are also required, as the lead agency, you are required to make CEQA findings. So the commission finds, this is included in your resolution, that the proposal is a project. However, it is exempt from further environmental review under CEQA guidelines because ambulance services is already being provided within the affected territory, Division 1. So a little bit about protest hearing. There are over 7,000 registered voters within Division 1. And that is why it is subject to a protest hearing, because we consider it inhabited territory if there are 12 or more registered voters. We did receive a question, which I will quickly try to answer. So the reason why we are only doing the protest hearing under Division 1, and I'll read directly from statute, section 57051. Also, there's several other statutes that are affected, but I'll just read this one. At any time prior to the conclusion of the protest hearing, in the notice given by the executive officer, but not thereafter, any owner of land or any registered voter within inhabited territory that is the subject of a proposed change of organization or reorganization, or any owner of land within the inhabited territory that is subject of a proposed change of organization or reorganization may file a written protest against the change of organization or reorganization. Again, the affected territory is not the entire district, but just Division 1, because Division 2 is already has these services being provided by the district itself, whereas Division 1, they are receiving services from another service provider. So that is the reason why it is not the entire district. But staff's recommendation is to delegate the executive officer the performance of all of the conducting authority proceeding, which is the protest hearing. This is normal for Placer, LAFCO, and what we typically do. So the staff recommendation is approval of the proposed change of organization for the extension of the South Placer Fire Protection District's power to provide ambulance services to include Division 1 via adoption of the LAFCO resolution. It says 24-12. I apologize. It's 24-11 that is included in your packet. And Chair, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. Commissioners, do you have questions? Okay.
I'll wait till after public comment.
Judy, do you have any questions now or wait till after public?
No, I'll wait until after public comment. Thank you.
Okay. Do we, I was going to suggest we hear from the applicant first and then go to public comment. So I would like to invite South Placer Fire Chief up. As he's standing, I guess I can extend that invitation.
The opportunity to stand before you, and we humbly ask that you follow staff's recommendation and simply adopt this resolution as written. That's all I have. Thank you.
Chief, before you leave, would you like to come back for just a minute? A couple of the commissioners are brand new this meeting. Do you want to give a brief synopsis history that goes into more of the details of how you ended up with Division 1 and
Sure,
Division?
sure. In
That might help them understand why are we doing that.
Sure. In 2017, we came to LAFCO for a consolidation.
Yes.
Consolidation. And during that time, some items were missed. And so here we are now 7 years later, asking to amend those issues and provide the same service across our entire service area, which includes the whole district. We are now one consolidated district, and we would like to provide the same services to everybody. Brief enough.
That was brief compared to what was in our book.
There's a lot there you can read. I don't, you know, my goal is not to bore you with stuff that we've presented already. So
Okay, thank you.
should I stay for more?
Well, I'll ask, are there any questions of the applicant from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Dewar. All right, so we'll now open the public hearing on this item. Any members of the public who would like to address the board? And I've got 4 speaker cards. So I'll read them in the order I received them, and if any, then we'll go call anyone else from the public who would like to speak. So first up, I have Diane, is it we? Will?
Thank you. My name is Diane Will, and I live in South Placer Fire District, Division 2. And I'd like to ask if I could indulge your time for 5 minutes, not 3 minutes. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I want to kind of go over some accounting information. I want to make sure you understand the information I'm sharing with you. I can read through it very quickly and cover it in 3 minutes, but I'd like to. Okay.
And then if the commission has questions, we can come back to those.
Great. I've given you a packet of handouts, so I'm going to kind of go over these things. What I'm asking you today is to defer your decision on this project until such time as there's adequate financial information provided that demonstrates that this is financially feasible for South Placer Fire District. My concern is that we can't afford this. The resolution states the evidence in the record establishes that South Placer Fire District has adequate capacity to provide ambulance service within the district. What evidence? There's no evidence. The proposal notes that the master plan for the South Placer Fire District recommends extending ambulance services. Exhibit 1 is the information on what the cost is going to be. So they've got a cost of between $491,000 and $656,000. So that's the cost estimate for this service to Loomis. But there's no information either in the master plan or in your proposal today that gives any information on the revenues. So where's the financial statements? Where's the financial analysis? Where's the cost benefit analysis? None of that has been provided. You know, there's just a statement of the that says, we don't think it's going to cost more than what our ambulance service is currently costing. That's not evidence. Exhibit 2 in your packet is the projected budget for the Loomis division for the 24-25 year. This was prepared by our fire chief. I've kind of highlighted the bottom number. The Loomis division is currently running at a loss, and it runs at a loss every year. So the current projected loss is $319,000. That's without the ambulance service. The next exhibit, I'm going through this kind of quickly, is the South Placer Fire District budget as a whole. So I've got the total column, and then I've got the Loomis division. You can see the loss, and then the Granite Bay division. Granite Bay is a profitable division, but our cash flow is being sucked by this loss that we continue to support the Loomis division. We've had to close 2 of our Granite Bay fire stations and retire our ladder truck to continue to fund the Loomis division. At least one of our remaining fire stations only has 2 firefighters on an engine. And what the firefighters told me is that if there's a fire at the house across the street from the fire station and the firefighters respond, they can't enter that structure. Oh, good God. Okay, because it's not safe to do so. So that's the level of service that we're being provided in Granite Bay. All of this to continue to fund the Loomis division. The next item is the Loomis budget for the 23-22 year. Again, that's a loss, and it's been that way since consolidation. Exhibit 6 is the financial statements. It's basically the net revenue for both divisions since consolidation. So we've been running a loss, and the Granite Bay division has been supporting the Loomis division since consolidation to almost $1 million. The consolidation plan of the Loomis division with South Placer Fire District in 2017 did not include any financial statements, financial analysis, or feasibility studies. And this is what you've done to our to our fire district. And I just want to make sure that that's not going to happen again with this proposal. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Next, I have John Poland.
Hello, LAFCO Commissioners. My name is John Poland, Regional Executive Director of the Sierra Sacramento Valley EMS Agency. Our local government agency was established 50 years ago to provide the required regulatory oversight of the EMS system within our jurisdictional region, which includes Placer County. Our agency is opposed to the district's change of organization request, as there is no legal mechanism to expand the boundaries of their grandfathered ambulance EOA to areas they did not provide these services to as of January 1st, 1981. This includes the town of Loomis and is applicable regardless of how ambulance services are provided to these areas currently or in the future. In 2003, the Placer County Board of Supervisors recommended that our agency establish ambulance EOAs pursuant to the provisions of the California EMS Act. Several EOAs within Placer County were subsequently established by our agency and approved by the California EMS Authority. Case law has conclusively established that implementation of these requested changes would result in the cancellation of the applicable grandfathered EOAs in these areas. Additionally, if our EMS plan were not approved because of these changes, it would jeopardize our agency's state funding allocations. The LAFCO staff report acknowledges that the district's provision of these ambulance services is subject to the EMS Act, but goes on to recommend granting the district's application anyway. Part of LAFCO's process is to determine whether the district can in fact provide the requested services. Under current relevant statutes, the district cannot legally provide these services, which should result in the board's denial of the application. In addition to the facts that these matters have already been settled by the courts, recent legislation attempting to allow the city of Oxnard and Ventura County to provide ambulance services which the court ruled they did not qualify for under the current provisions of the EMS Act was vetoed by the governor. It should also be noted that court injunctions are currently in place against Santa Barbara and San Bernardino counties related to ambulance EOA and contracting matters. The stated purpose for recommending approval of this request is to correct an error related to the district's 2017 consolidation process. Please note that this matter was in fact discussed at that time, and it was previously determined that these services were not allowed under the provisions of the California EMS Act. As a result, these services were not included in the district's 2017 Consolidation Service Plan, the LAFCO approved consolidation resolution, or the 2017 EOA agreement between our agency and the district that was executed 3 months after the resolution by LAFCO. Although our agency disagrees with other statements contained in the LAFCO staff report and resolution related to this matter, they're not relevant to the considerations. As I have already stated and previously communicated to the district, there is no legal mechanism for our agency to expand the boundaries of the district's grandfathered ambulance EOA to areas they did not provide services to since 1981. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Next, I have Derek Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name is Derek Cole. I appear today on behalf of American Medical Response. AMR is the contracted provider for the area in gold on that map. That is the town of Loomis. I have submitted a letter, and I know when you sat down to prepare your agenda and you saw a multi-page, single-spaced letter from a lawyer, I'm sure all of you are really excited. So the good news is I'm not going to get up here and just regurgitate what I said. I made 2 points in that letter. The first, I think Mr. Poland very ably explained. The second, though, is what I want to focus on. And that is, you really shouldn't be here doing what you're being asked to do. And if you choose to move forward with this action, that is your prerogative. But really, the issues that the fire district is trying to present to you are issues that belong with Mr. Poland's agency, not this agency. What the fire district is trying to do does not make any sense, because you have a situation where they are trying to serve just the town of Loomis. And so 2 of you are supervisors, and what they're doing would violate the terms of your resolution that your predecessor board adopted, and would also violate your county code. And they would, in order for the district to be able to serve just the town of Loomis, your board would need to revisit the 2003 resolution that Mr. Poland referenced. And you would also need to make an amendment to your county code, because what your board has done is created a zone that includes Loomis, but includes all of the other areas that AMR is servicing in Rocklin and Lincoln and other parts of your county. So what you do today would be really just a paper exercise, and would tee up an issue where your board would have to make decisions. But even if your board made that decision, it would still need the concurrence and the ultimate approval of the EMS agency. And so our view is that this really isn't something your board should do. This is simply a paper exercise. This will accomplish nothing for the fire district. But in the event your board does, or this commission, excuse me, if your commission does choose to go forward with the action, we have presented some findings that we would like to add. And the simple concern that we have is this: there is a very wonky procedure that has to be followed if we challenge LAFCO's action called validation. What I don't want as AMR's counsel is for 2 or 3 years down the road to have someone say that because we didn't follow that procedure, because we didn't challenge the action today, which we don't think is even appropriate, that we somehow waived our rights. And so if the board, or excuse me, your commission adopts these findings and adds those to your resolution, that should address our issues.
Thank you. And I think those are in front of us up here, separate from our packet. Thank you, Mr. Cole. And then we will move on. Chief Gao, I see you have 2 cards in here. Does that mean you forgot the first one, or you wanted 6 minutes?
No, 3 minutes is fine.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll get you on the next item.
Okay, okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Ian Gow. I'm the fire chief of Placer Hills, Penryn, and Newcastle Fire Protection Districts. This resolution and subsequent actions would directly affect my agencies. And I would, if I may point out to you, South Placer is widely recognized as well-led. Their emergency medical services are top-notch. And I'd like to support your support of this resolution as written, please. Thank you.
Okay, so those are the speaker cards I have. Are there other members of the public who would like to address the commission? Mr. Moss?
Good afternoon, Chairman Gustafson, members of the commission. Appreciate your time. My name is Jeff Moss, and I am a resident of the South Placer Fire District. I currently live on the blue side of things. Comments were made such as the vote should only take effect in one district because it doesn't affect the other one. But yet, we've been told that one ambulance is going to leave District 2 and go to District 1. So it does have an effect. Whether it's financial or not, I'm not a numbers cruncher to tell you call volume versus that, but a piece of equipment that has been consistently deployed in District 2 will now be moved to District 1. So there is an effect. And so I think that needs to be considered. Other costs, long-term, retirement. When an AMR paramedic retires, South Placer is done with them. When a South Placer paramedic retires, South Placer has to continue to fund that expense for a substantial period of time. I mean, we sincerely hope our retirees live a long and healthy life, and that makes for a very expensive retirement. I just think there is talk in the town and the community in District 2 about wishing there could be, for lack of a better term, a divorce of this consolidation. If that were to be followed after allowing the ambulance service to be taking over, it would be kind of similar to saying, we want a divorce, but let's have a baby. You know, it's making one much more difficult to accomplish. So I would ask that this not be taken up tonight and voted on until some of these things can be addressed, the financial issues, the ambulance coverage, the retirement costs and such, and decisions could be made with more information. Thank you.
Are there other members of the public who would like to address the commission tonight? We don't bite. We encourage public comments, so please feel free. Okay, I'm not seeing any others in the room. I will go online. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom and we'll take your public comment or questions. A lot of people watching and not a lot of comment. Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing and I'm going to bring it back to staff and commission for responses. And I'd invite the applicant if they want to make responses, and Michelle, if you want to make responses to the public comment we've heard, and then we'll follow up with further commissioner questions.
I have none at this time, Chair.
Okay. Applicant, do you want to address, I had on here the costs, the response times, and then I have some legal questions to ask our legal counsel, I think, right? Would you like to address those issues that have been raised by the public on the costs, the response times?
Sure. I'll take a few of those. In terms of cost, we're utilizing an existing resource that frankly, by unit hour utilization, which is a common standard in the industry, is underutilized. You saw 30 to 50% is when we would consider adding another unit. We have a unit, both units are averaging about 8.8. One's probably more in the 6 to 7 range and one's in the 10 to 12, which gets us to that range. The one that we're looking to service the other district is sitting at 6 or 7%. So there's adequate time and availability for them to be able to be there. We have a wonderful working partnership with our allied partners in AMR, and we routinely provide mutual aid and automatic aid back and forth between the two. and it works out well. And so if there's an instance where there's concurrent or calls that are on top of each other, we continue to help out in the same way we do today. Cost-wise, we're using an existing resources, so we don't anticipate any more costs than we're paying today. It's a very efficient way to handle the volume in the system as it exists. Should it be more than we anticipate, which I don't see, we would then have to consider that. But I don't, there's nothing in the tea leaves pointing to a massive increase in the call volume that we're already experiencing today. We already send an ambulance to, or I'm sorry, an engine company to all those calls in the town of Loomis. And so we have a pretty good handle on what that volume looks like. I think that covers the cost and the availability.
Commissioner Landon, did you have a question?
I did. I don't know that. I think it's probably more for Michelle, but so if anyone else has questions.
Any other questions for Chief?
No. Don't forget your mic.
Jeff Moss's question about capacity, and you answered that for me. Thank you.
Yes, you did address that. I think the question that was previously raised by Ms. Will was on the finances, and I think Mr. Moss did as well ask about the long-term financial impacts and the imbalance between these two districts. Did you want to speak to that at all? Or these two service areas, not districts? One district, two service areas.
District. We now exist as a South Placer Fire District. The fact that it's Division 1 and Division 2 creates some struggles for us because there is this concern in the community that we're supporting one and not the other. I would say we would probably need to do a much deeper dive on the budget analysis just to see who's supporting who. And at the end of the day, putting an ambulance responding in that community, those are billable transports, which would increase revenue, which would offset the cost of that perceived inequity, which would bring us up to more parity between the two districts and hopefully stop that argument or conversation in the community.
And those are the items that your board considered in making this recommendation, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
So Chair,
Yes.
just because we do have new members of the commission, and I just wanted to briefly, not that it's on this specific agenda, but the commission recently approved a consolidation, if you will. In that case, it was a reorganization of two fire districts in the fall. And again, in the commission's considerations, those the services, the equalization, if you will, of the services, of the TRAs, of the assessments, and things of that nature. So what should have happened were those considerations should have been part of the 2017. Those were not, but again, this is just one step, if you will, so that using the prior speaker's comment about divorces and marriages. So this, in fact, is one step closer to having a truly married district, if you will, using that analogy. But again, this is one of several steps in this process.
Okay. Commissioner Landon, did you want to?
Yeah, I just had a question on the protest hearing portion. So I can understand why there would be impacts to Division 2 that may not be realized right now. So I guess my question is, if you could explain to me the why the determination of only I know you kind of touched on why just Division 1, but maybe if you could just explain a little bit more why the legal argument for why Division 2 wouldn't need to be included. I guess that's for Michael.
Right, yeah, and really because the statute says the affected territory, and the affected territory in this situation for the change of organization is just the gold area. We are not suggesting that there's any potential changes to the jurisdictional boundary and the services and the other division. So Michael, if you could weigh in a little bit further.
Sure. Michelle has it correct. Affected territory is a term of art under CKH. It's given a specific legal definition. and it was by the legislature, and it applies to any sort of change of organization. So for instance, when your commission considers an annexation, the affected territory is that part that's going to be annexed to a district or a city, and only the voters or the landowners in that area are eligible to make a protest, not the balance of the district or city. So the same is true here. So it was in the legislature's discretion to do it that way. And so when we talk about an affected territory, we're using a term of art. Certainly in a more colloquial sense, an entire district is affected by any annexation to one extent or another. But in terms of the protest hearing, it is only the affected territory, which, as Michelle said, here is Division 1 only.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess just following up with one more question on, it sounds like there's a different legal interpretation on whether we have the authority or not. And so I'm just wondering if Michael could speak to, and with the board's resolution, was it 2017, the board's resolution? The question of whether we have the authority outside of the Board of Supervisors to change that structure, if they already have that in place, if that makes sense.
The 2003 code you're talking about?
Oh, 2003.
Yeah, that was my question.
Thanks.
Hopefully I'll address the question, but as Michelle laid out in the beginning of her presentation, and as the staff report talks about, a special district can only provide those services that LAFCO has said it can provide. And that came into play when the legislature passed the part of CKH that created what we call the municipal service reviews. Although the word municipal is used, they're also done for special districts. And so when those were created, when LAFCO did its initial service review of a special district, LAFCO would recognize those services the district was then presenting, and the district could then continue to provide those services. But any service the district was not at that point providing required the district to return to LAFCO under the subdivision M that Michelle was referring to get LAFCO's approval of the power to provide that service. And under that subdivision M, it talks about the provision of a service in part of the jurisdictional boundaries of a district. So in this case, when the consolidation of the Loomis Fire Protection District and South Placer Fire Protection District occurred in 2017, at that time, South Placer was at that time providing ambulance services within its existing boundaries, but Loomis was not providing ambulance services within its existing boundaries. So upon the consolidation, the surviving district, so to speak, which goes by the name South Placer Fire Protection District, continued to have the authority to provide ambulance services in what we now call Division 2 or the Granite Bay area. But the commission in 2017 didn't address ambulance services in the Loomis area. And so therefore, the consolidated district, the surviving district, did not have LAFCO's approval to exercise that power. So what's before your commission today is for the consolidated district to get that approval to do it. There's another overlay because this particular service we're talking about is ambulance services, and those are subject to another state act, which is usually referred to shorthand as EMS Act, like we refer to LAFCO law as CKH Act. So the action here by the commission is to provide the prerequisite power to the consolidated district to provide those services. And as the staff report says, the commission does not and should not take a position as to who actually in the future will provide those ambulance services in Division 1, because that's subject to the EMS Act, not the CKH Act.
Okay, I think I got that. Thanks.
Are there other commissioner comments? Did you? Yes. Your light was on, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I just want to be crystal clear. What the attorney said is that we then do not need to add this portion because it's basically already in our resolution. We don't need to make the added portion that's being recommended.
Can you clarify what you're referring to by added portion?
Oh, that proposal.
Yeah.
Michael, we did send it as an email this afternoon. We received it as a last minute request from the from AMR, I believe, and their
Oh.
legal counsel. And there's two whereases and a resolve that they would like to add. Did you receive that?
I did receive that. I just wanted to clarify that's what the commissioner was referring to.
Yes.
Your commission, your commission is not required to include those. It would be up to your commission if it wanted to make those clarifications, but your commission isn't required to do so. If your commission is inclined to, I would offer some edits to the first whereas, but my main point in addressing your question, Commissioner, is your commission isn't required to.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Okay, then I have one at the top of page 35 in our packet. Michelle, you've said clearly to the commission whether or how and when South Placer Fire Protection District may obtain such authority under the EMS Act are not issues within LAFCO's subject matter jurisdiction.
Correct.
Deferring then to the EMS Act. And
Yes.
so the actions, I just want to be clear to the public, we are not determining whether they can or will start providing ambulance services, but we're saying they should have the same authority. Our job is to say, should they have the same authority within these two jurisdictions? Can I summarize it that easily? Right.
Yes.
Should you have the authority to do that under our LAFCO laws, and then it's up to them with the EMS?
Yes.
Am I clearly understanding that? Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission or responses from staff? Okay, then I'd look for a motion or just further discussion.
Can I make the motion?
Yes?
I would like to, first of all, thank the public for the comments and the applicants' explanations. And I think the commission has done a really good job of vetting the concerns that have been expressed, and I appreciate all that you guys have asked. It's really helped provide clarity for me. From my perspective, given the read of the staff report, what we've learned from the applicant and our staff, as well as the attorney, I'm ready to make a motion to move forward with alternative 1, which is the staff recommendation, along with the attendant CEQA findings.
Okay.
And I'll second.
And you'll second?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, then I'll ask you to call. I'm sorry, Judy, I ignored you.
I'm
Did you
sorry.
put
No,
your
that's
hand up?
okay. I just wanted to make sure that that does not include the additional findings.
That's correct.
That's correct.
The additional whereases. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
But we feel that's already covered within our
Mhm.
resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Amy, will you call for the vote?
Right. Alpine,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Landon,
Yes.
Rohan,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Youngblood,
Yes.
and Gustafson.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for all the public input. We understand this is just a start of a process, not the conclusion of a process. We'll move then to our next public hearing item, which is LAFCO project number 2022-03, service review and sphere of influence update, Western Placer County Fire Emergency Medical Services Dispatch Service Agency Providers. Michelle?
Thank you, Chair. As indicated in your agenda, the the service review study remains incomplete. We are working with the fire chiefs to finalize the draft so that we can have it ready for the commission's January 8th meeting. A few days ago, I did send an email to all the fire chiefs requesting that they provide their technical edits to LAFCO staff by this Friday at 5 p.m. so that we can provide them to the consultants so that you may have the draft service review in time for your January 8th meeting. So the staff recommendation is just to continue this item. I believe there may be some public comments here today, but we are requesting to continue until your next regular meeting.
Okay, thank you. Point of order from Mr. Walker. If we're continuing the item, do we go ahead and take public comment on this item?
Yes, you should. And then if there should be a motion and a vote to continue it if that's the commission's desire.
Okay, thank you very much. So Commissioner, any questions? Okay, your light is on, so I wasn't sure. I know, it's the old fashioned way. We have to look for the button. Okay, then we'll open the public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address this item here in the room? Yes, Chief Gal. That's why you had a second card here. I didn't look at the agenda items. I see you did.
Trying to make sure you didn't overlook me.
How could I overlook you?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Ian Gow, Fire Chief for Newcastle, Penryn, and Placer Hills. We fully support putting off the item for a month. We know there's issues that my fellow chiefs want to deal with, and we fully support that. But I would like to tell you, I've been a fire chief in this county since 1994. I've been through a number of municipal services reviews. I've been through nearly a dozen county-funded studies on how to manage fire service. And with respect, I can tell you that none of those studies or MSRs were helpful in any way, other than one that Janine Windishausen did back in 17. This MSR, in our opinion, is really good. This consultant, in our opinion, was brave. He looked at all the issues and he gave clear recommendations. I don't maybe like all of them, but he was clear, and we support the MSR. We don't believe that the changes that the fire chiefs are going to present to you will be substantive. And I have a little bit of a hurry problem. You know, this study took 2 years. Nobody's fault. We added extra things to it. But Placer Hills and Newcastle Fire are in the middle of a reorg attempt, just like South Placer did. And Newcastle is financially difficult. I don't know that we'll get another fiscal year. So we're hoping, we need the MSR to put our application before you. And Michelle's been great helping us with all this, and we're appreciative. But we'd like to get this done as soon as possible. We think this reorg attempt of ours, it follows the recommendations of the MSR. It hurts no other district. It will improve the level of service to Newcastle dramatically. It will save Newcastle from failing using the LAFCO overlay process. And Newcastle is a critical station for the county. We can't let it fail. We've got a bit of a time crunch. Any help you guys could give us would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other members of the public who'd like to address the commission? Hi, come on up.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Cheryl Hotelian. I'm the board chair for the Penryn Fire Protection District, and I really hate having to follow Chief Gow and making comments. Hard act to follow. I would just, our board would just second what the chief said as far as the importance of the MSR. We know that there was a significant amount of effort put in by all of the participants, and unfortunately, the completion of it experienced delays. This MSR will be a significant input to our planning, both near-term operational concerns as well as our strategic planning. So we would respectfully urge that the hearing for this be held in January and that no further delays occur.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other members of the public wish to address us on this item? Yes, come on up.
Done this before, so.
We really don't bite.
You don't?
No.
So, my name's John Burns. I'm a resident of Newcastle. I'm also on the fire board for Newcastle as well, and I've gotten to know the fire department. And I think that this reorg that they're planning is excellent. I think that we need to make this happen as soon as we can. And I think we let the decisions be made by the firefighters.
Mhm.
So my father was a firefighter for 40 years. He taught, redesign and master planning for the National Fire Academy.
Wow.
And one of the things he always told me was that let the firefighters decide what needs to be done. That's the key. These are the guys risking their lives out there and they know how to do it. So I think we need to get this done in January, have the meeting, let's move it forward and support the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. He was your dad too, so you had to listen to him. Yes, sir. Hi.
I'm Jim Heisterkamp. I'm also a director on Newcastle Fire Board. Yeah, I'd just like to say it has been a while. We've been planning a consolidation with Placer Hills, who has our administration contract right now. And we're essentially brothers. We're kin. We all share duties together. And it would be beneficial to press ahead on this as soon as possible. It would benefit the citizens of Newcastle tremendously. We'd have ALS service. We'd have 3 firefighters. It'd bring our firefighting team into PERS. So there's a lot of benefits that we would receive by this consolidation. So I would implore that you look at this as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any others in the room? I'm not seeing it. Oh, come on up. I thought you might be here to address us, but.
Too big of a surprise. John Aneker, one of the homeowners in the Newcastle Fire Protection District. I don't consider myself to have much expertise. I only claim to be a fire district groupie. I'm very keen on the service that's provided. And frankly, I think it's amazing. And the benefits that have been, researched and talked about and all that, I find fully convincing. And as a resident, I'm one of those folks who has to provide their own wildfire abatement program because I can afford myself and not much of anybody else. But the benefits that I see and the commitment that our firefighting agency has to the benefit of the community, to me, is mind-boggling. If it were any more, I'd be wondering if we were involved in theft, of what other districts might cover in terms of the personnel. So I would strongly encourage you to do what I assume is in your heart to do anyway, which is to consider the best interests of the public. But I think as it's been studied and declared, and as I say, I'm kind of a monthly groupie at the meetings, I find very convincing and very encouraging. So I'm very hopeful about this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call. Any other folks in the audience here in the room? Not seeing anyone, so I will look online. If any of you online would like to raise your hand, we can unmute you for public comment. Okay. We're not seeing any, so we'll close the public comment on this item and I'll bring it back for a motion to continue the item to January 8th, unless there's discussion from the commissioner.
I will move that we continue to January 8th, item 6B.
A second. Oh, go ahead.
Well, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll?
Alpine,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Landon,
Yes.
Rohan.
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Youngblood,
Yes.
and Chair Gustafson.
Yes. I have one quick question of staff, because you've asked for some more details and edits, and it's the holidays.
Yes.
And then the commission has quite a large packet for January. Can we make sure we get that out as soon as possible to the commissioners for review?
Absolutely. I did.
I hear we're not going to be able to continue it again, is what I'm hearing from our public.
Yes, absolutely. So as I mentioned, as part of my presentation, I did send an email to the chiefs, letting them know, please give me your edits. You have until this Friday. I have received the edits from the cities of Roseville and Rocklin. And I believe the CSA 28, which is our dependent special district from the county, they will be providing their edits as well. And I believe a couple of the fire districts, South Placer and Forest Hill is also working on their edits. So I am hopeful that 5 o'clock, that's the cutoff time. We'll get it to the consultant and then the consultant can begin making their edits. And as Chief Gao noted, it's not substantial edits, it's more corrections. And also just we did have some concerns about the evaluation of facilities, and that wasn't included in the scope, that may not be appropriate. So that will be removed, if you will. But those edits it should not take the consultant very long to make.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move to item 6C. Again, this is LAFCO project number 2024-01, South Placer Municipal Utility District Service Review and Sphere of Influence Update.
Thank you, Chair. I'm using the same map from earlier from the consent item because it shows the district's boundary as well as the areas that the district will be coming back for an annexation and a couple of detachments. But the service review is now complete. And so we will be ready for the January 8th meeting. But because we have the fire service review, we have Roseville, Rocklin, staff may be requesting a second meeting. But this is the other service review that will be heard some point in January. Staff is recommending continuing the item and to the January 8th meeting. Of course, if we hold a special meeting, then we'll re-notice this item.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, any public comment on this one, on this item? Not seeing any in the room. Are there any members of the public online? You can raise your hand and we'll call on you. Not seeing any? Okay, then I'd look for a motion to continue the item.
I move that we continue item 6C. Put my glasses on, sorry. To the January 8th to 2025 meeting.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, and Amy, will you call the roll?
Alpine,
Yes.
Eklund,
Yes.
Landon,
Yes.
Rohan,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Youngblood,
Yes.
and Chair Gustafson.
Yes. Thank you. And so we'll move to item 7, business item, our executive officer's report.
Thank you, Chair. I won't go over the fire study as well as the South Placer MUD study because that was in my previous presentation, but the other two items that will be on the commission's calendar for January is the final service review, as well as the sphere update for the city of Roseville. And we have received one comment thus far from the public. So the public comment period remains open. Should anyone desire from the public as well as other affected agencies desire to submit those comments, please send them to staff. And then the other item which the commission will receive is the draft service review and sphere of influence study and update for the city of Rocklin. We will provide those again, because we have so many studies. We will provide these studies as quickly as we can. As I indicated last week at our special meeting, I will be requesting a special meeting when the time gets closer. I want to make sure that we truly need a special meeting, but should we need a second meeting in January, I will work with the chair and of course your schedules so that we have a quorum. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Jude?
Welcome a new commissioner.
Yeah, I was going to finish the business item, but just any comments on her report, because then I was negligent in welcoming everybody before. Judy, did you have any questions on the executive officer's report?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Michelle, the only thing I'd ask, just knowing how busy January's already gotten and December ended up with double meetings, and could we get a reserved time as soon as possible? Because, you know, even if we reserve it and then don't need it, I think it's better to try to get it on our calendars
Okay.
and hold it, because it's hard to get on calendars.
Absolutely. I can do that tonight or
Yeah,
now.
tomorrow, so yeah, just
Okay.
before the holidays, if we could get that reserved on our schedules. I don't know about everyone else, but the time flies by, and then,
Absolutely.
you know, we're back after the holidays.
The week of the 20th. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioner comments. I was negligent in introducing our two new commissioners tonight, and I will give you a few moments to introduce yourselves and say a few words if you'd like. I'm so sorry I didn't do it before, but welcome.
Okay, do you want to go first?
I'll let you guys talk. Yeah.
Well, my name is Whitney Eklund, and I was just sworn in to the City Council of Lincoln last night. I am happy to be here the next day, and I'm excited to be on this commission. I love planning. I've been a planning commissioner for the city of Lincoln for the last several years, and I was feeling like I was going to really miss it. And then I received my agenda packet and had a meeting with Michelle that was very informative and impressive, and I felt like I'm going to be able to scratch that itch now. So I'm thrilled to be here and have a new team to work with and get to know and contribute as much as I possibly can and learn from you all.
Thank you. And welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I was previously the mayor of Loomis as of last night. Oh, thank you. See, I'm still learning because in Loomis, we have to keep our mics on the whole time. So
Yeah.
this is kind of nice that we don't have to, but I'm sorry that that's happening. So please bear with me on that. I will learn that very soon. So I was the previous mayor of Loomis as of last night. We passed the gavel over to David Ring. So now I'm a council member. So I'm kind of in the same boat you're in, because when I got elected, I became mayor pro tem and then went from there. So I'm kind of getting used to, being kind of new all over again. I'm also on the public safety committee. So this and SP MUD. So I feel that that's going to be kind of good for me because I already kind of have a backbone on, kind of that stuff in the town of Loomis and our outlying areas. But I'm still new too. I'm brand new on LAFCO. But that's just a little bit about me. Oh, and I was a planning commissioner as well before I ran for council a couple of years ago. So during our general plan. So, in the midst of COVID. So I learned all about, that kind of stuff because I was thrust into it. And I think that this is going to be a great committee. I didn't mean it that way. Yeah. And I've already met a lot of people because we had the PCWA thing this past year. And so I got to know Josh and Michelle and I think it's gonna be fun. I already know Shanti, known her for a while. We ran together, which was kind of exciting.
Oh,
Thank you very much for letting me be on this board. So,
Absolutely. Well, welcome. You know, we, speaking for all the commission, we just finished our strategic plan, so hopefully Michelle gave you a copy. But this is going to be a very active commission for the next coming years when we look at the list of issues coming before us. So we really appreciate you joining the LAFCO Commission, and there's a lot of work to do and a lot of time commitment to understand the nuances of here we're representing a different body than we each represent when we are in our home of our city or county or special district or public members. So it's great. Other commissioner comments? Susan, did you want to make further? You were right. I had forgotten to welcome them. Any others? Judy, any comments? Commissioner comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, then I'd look for a motion for item number 9, adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Stand adjourned.